Austria? Isn't that just Germany Junior? I can feel the blood boiling from the Austrians watching this. Hey there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're in Innsbruck, Austria. And today we're going to talk about some things that tourism might do that could kind of upset the locals here in Austria. And it really starts with that. Thinking Austria is Germany Junior, or an extension of Germany, or just another Bundesland of Germany. There's no difference between Austria and Germany because they all speak German. You have to realize that's going to upset them quite a bit because Austria has its own culture, its own history, its own food. It has so many things that's truly Austrian that people sometimes forget that because they think, oh, they all speak German, so it's all the same. It's like when people go to South America and they're like, oh, they all speak Spanish. I'm like, well, actually, in Brazil, they speak Portuguese. And if you listen to Argentines speak Spanish versus Colombians, you have no idea what they're saying. But yeah, and that's one of those things. People here in Austria, look, they have a history. I mean, they remember when the Habsburgs were in power and literally half of Western Europe was controlled by the Holy Roman Empire. Yeah, that was here in Austria. So if you say they're just a Germany Junior, that insults them and it really kind of upsets them. So don't do that. That's probably the biggest one to know. Now, another thing that will definitely annoy the Austrians when you're here is if you're loud. And I mean loud anywhere. Public transportation, on the train, in a cafe, in a restaurant. They do not want to hear your conversation. They do not care how excited you are to be here. That's just not how they are. But that is the thing. It is very much a be silent kind of thing. And that's why, like when I'm filming, I'm trying to find out-of-the-way places to film because I don't want to annoy the locals because there really is this don't be loud kind of culture, whether it's in the cafes or in the restaurants or wherever. You're not going to hear a lot of rambunctiousness when you are here. So kind of tone it down when you're here so you don't upset the locals. Now, since we're here in Tyrol, I think another kind of touchy subject is if you mention to them that Ötzi the Iceman, he's actually in Italy, in Bolzano. And that might not go over well because when they found Ötzi the Iceman, they thought he was in Austria. They were so excited when they found out he was only a few meters over into Italy. So you go to Bolzano, which actually is Bolzen in German, which is because it was part of Austria for a long time, like until like 100 or so years ago. There's actually a museum that you can go see Ötzi the Iceman, but realize that, they wish he was Austrian, but now he's Italian. Now, another thing that might upset your Austrian friends, you tell them that you really saw Austria, but all you did was maybe do a day trip from Munich to Salzburg, or maybe you just passed through Vienna for a day on your Central European train adventure from Budapest to Prague. That's one of those things. Austrians have a lot of pride, and they do take it personally if you kind of push their cultural stuff to the side, because Vienna has so many cultural trappings to see. It's just fantastic. And Salzburg, but Innsbruck, Linz, Graz, Feldkirch, Hallstatt, there's so many cute towns, villages, all kinds of stuff. And honestly, if you don't mention the rural tourism here in Austria, they will be a little upset. Because like, we know about our cultural cities, but what about the culture of our nature here? And that's one of the things they get very proud of because you have the skiing, you have the lakes, you have the wine areas that you can go through in the eastern part of the countries. I mean, the Wandern, the hiking in the mountains in the summertime. I mean, there's a reason why they show those walking through, like, the hills are alive with the Sound of Music stuff. And that's one of those things. And I guess I'm thinking that the Sound of Music really represents Austria. Yeah, they might not like that, but they don't really care anymore because, the movie's kind of old. It's not as popular as it once was. But yeah, just remember to don't diss the nature experience when you're here because they take great pride in it. Another thing I think is important to mention is if you disrespect the cafe culture here in Austria, like a lot of people think, oh, it's just like a bunch of Austrian Starbucks kind of things. No, there are Starbucks here, but the Starbucks experience is not the Austrian or Viennese cafe experience because you go there, you go and you have your coffee or your hot chocolate, which is fantastic here, and then you have your cake. And yes, you can have the Sackertorte, Linsentorte, Cremschnitte. There's so many great cakes you can have when you're here. But it's more of the sit down and enjoy and relax and take in life experience versus, I need my caramel macchiato with 19 foams and 2 spritz of pumpkin spice. It's a whole different thing. And so if you equate like the cafe experience in Austria to a Starbucks experience, the locals will definitely let you hear about it. Now, another thing you'll notice will upset Austrians when you're taking the train, and if you notice the train's kind of full and someone has their bags on the seat next to them, and you ask them, is das hier frei? Which is like, is it free here? And they'll be so annoyed, like just so annoyed, like, oh, I wanted my bag to have its own seat the entire ride. And I've had people like, do you have a ticket for this seat? I'm like, it doesn't matter, it's not reserved, so you can't put your bags here. Austrians love to do that, and they get so annoyed when you're like, dude, I need the seat because there's no seats left on the train. I mean, I'm trying to get my dad a seat, and these ladies are like, do you have a ticket even? I'm like, yeah, I do. Do you? And they're like, it's like, eigentlich, yeah. So, I mean, it's just one of those things that you want to like hug an Austrian when they do that on the train. But you will really annoy them when you do it. Now, another one that takes me back a few years, this is one thing, whenever I bring this up, I get kind of like the rolled eyes back, is when you say, yeah, the only other Austrian artist I know, aside from Mozart, is Anton Austrian. Ich bin so schön, ich bin so voll. He was like a 90s one-hit wonder in Germany and Austria and stuff. So, yeah, they're like, the eye roll. It's not really annoyed. It's more the eye roll, and I just love that because that's one of those things that always take me back. Like, if you're from a certain generation, if you're like my age, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. Yeah. They're really like, no, we've got more than him. Please know we have more than Mozart and Anton Austrian. And then there's the touchy subject that maybe they won't get mad at you, but it will definitely make for an uncomfortable situation, is if you point out that the guy with the funny mustache wasn't really German, he was actually Austrian. That also can lead to some uncomfortable kind of conversations if you want. If you want to have them, go ahead. But just know that might lead for not necessarily annoyance, but uncomfortableness when you're here in Austria. All right? So what are some other things you've noticed that annoy the Austrians when tourists come here? Please let us know in the comments below so we can help out other travelers have a better time here in Austria. If you want to learn more, we got plenty of videos, the mistakes of Austria, don'ts of Austria, what to eat when you come to Austria, on our website at woltersworld.com. A special shout out to all of our patrons and members who make videos like this possible. Without your support, we couldn't do it. So thank you so much, or Dankeschön. I'll say bye from here in Innsbruck, Austria.